And so the drama begins. Controversy. Mayhem. Scandal. Tank Davis goes off on Lamont Roach. He says Lamont Roach is actively trying to sue him for, I guess, Xing him out. And he is not happy. Lamont Roach mad that Tank Davis is moving on up, moving right along. In this video, I'm going to break down what was said, and Lamont Roach did clap back, so stay tuned to this video. I got you covered. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I knew this moment was coming. If you guys pay attention to the channel, I predicted this. I predicted this ish into apocalypse. And for once I was down with ninjas. It felt good in the hood being around them ninjas. And for the first time, everybody let go. And the streets was death row. So Gevonta Tank Davis, I've already talked about it. He's moving on. He's fighting Jake Paul. Gonna make a lot of money. I've already expressed my thoughts on that fight. And this just confirms everything that I've been saying. Everything. Some people, when I initially put my video out, some people were mad. They were like, oh no, Ego, how could you? Why would you say that? Tank is ducking. Oh, no. I do not give a flying uck what none of y'all are talking about. See, everybody, they say they could do my job, but then they don't do my job. You dig, right? Everybody want to opine and jump in with their take, then you do this. You get to where I got, you talk boxing every single day, and you build a following and make this dough I'm making. That's it. Get off my sack. Period. I said what I said. I don't take back what I said. I meant what I said. I'm glad I said it. And it is what it is. In case you missed the video, I'll give you the cliff notes. What I said about this Jake Paul and Gevonta Davis fight, and as it pertains to Lamont Roach, I said that as a fight, Jake Paul and Tank, I didn't really have many thoughts about it. It's a novelty fight. As a hardcore boxing fan, it's not something that I'm just so excited. And it's an exhibition. It's not even like a true fight, if we will. I stated that. See, when Boxing Ego speaks, most people get it because I speak very fluent. I speak very clearly, and my words are easy to digest. I give you food for thought. I'll let you digest it. But the usual suspects, the resistance, old media, they always try to misconstrue what I'm saying. They take my words and spin it to some that I never said. You see this with fighters too, where a fighter will put out a quote and then people will read too deep into the quote and say they meant this, that, and the third, and they never even said all these things. You know what I mean? So that's just the world we live in online. So what I said still remains, and then we'll get into this beef and this today back and forth. Tank Davis and Jake Paul, although it's a novelty fight, and as a fight, I'm just like, meh. I understand it because one, I told you, this is boxing fans' fault. For sure. And you guys got to watch that first video. For sure, it's boxing fans' fault. Because when we get real fights, real boxing, like boxing fights that are good, you still have cheap fans who say, oh, I'm just going to stream it. How much for one rib? We got these Chris Rock. How much? Okay. Too much food, America, man. We got so much food. We allergic to food. We got these Chris Rock. How much for one rib? Right? And they need to get slapped like Will Smith did Chris Rock at the Oscars. Right? And they always trying to get a discount. They always trying to get a price break. They always trying to go on Stream East and crack streams and all these streams and piracy. And then when we get a good fight, and a lot of there's times where these good fights, like regular good fights, but maybe the two fighters aren't necessarily superstars. It affects those a lot more. And then the numbers look low. What do you think the networks are going to do when they look at the numbers for Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul or whatever, Logan Paul, whatever Paul he fought, Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, and they look for some of these novelty fights, how much impressions they're getting, right? That's why I always tell y'all, boxing is already a niche sport. You got to support it, especially if it's a good fight. I'm not telling you like Dillian White versus Moises Atuma. I'm not telling you to buy pay-per-view for that, but there's been great fights that have happened in the last 5 years. And some of you'll spend money on tricking on women. You'll spend money on drugs or drink or whatever, but then you won't put down on no boxing. And then when they give us Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson and Tank versus Jake Paul, now you know why, bro. Especially when you look at our economy right now. Our economy is down. Vegas is down. Tourism is down. Tariffs on things, blah, blah, blah. These networks are not, first of all, boxing is not even really currently existing on any regular linear network as of today, like announced, and they already got fights going, right? So boxing now has to turn to other proprietary platforms in the form of streaming, like Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Amazon Prime, et cetera, et cetera. These other platforms have not made their coin purely on live sports and definitely not in boxing. So when you come in the game, you don't want to lose a bunch of money. So you're kind of going to test the waters first before you dive into boxing. You got to you do some big fights, turn some profit, see that there's an interest there. Then you might go from dipping your feet in to jumping all the way into the ocean or the pool, right? That's where we're at. Boxing is off of HBO. It's been off of Showtime. And now Netflix, they got Wednesday. They could just work on season 3 and a new version of Narcos and TV shows and movies and the catalog of movies, back movies that have already happened. They don't have to get into boxing. So boxing, I think, wants these sure shot fights. Now, I know I'm ranting, but I blame the fans, and I'll probably have to talk about it more. But let's get into the Lamont Roach and Tank Davis fiasco, if you will. Follow me at BoxingEgo1. I'm almost to 75,000. Get me to 75,000 ASAP. At BoxingEgo1, link in the description. With all the people who watch the channel, it shouldn't be hard. Now, I made these graphics for you. What's beef? What's beef, y'all? And I'll prove it. See, there's a lot of people that try to be like Boxing Ego. I wear hats and beanies. I got the glasses. They wear hats and beanies and glasses. They try to bite the wave. You know this. I make a video. I do my thumbnails like this. They try to copy. I do certain color schemes on my thumbnails. Use the word and then half white, half yellow. Then they copy. You guys understand I am the best in the business and it's not even close. You know this. Deep down inside, you know this. Because there's no way you watch boxing and don't see my DNA all through this game. Tank Davis, Lamont Roach, the beef is among us. And I predicted this very moment. If you listen to the content. Slide 1. Gevonta Davis posted this. And Gevonta, he be like deleting stuff, so I don't know if it's still here, but I got the screen grab. Buddy trying to sue. And you know he talking about Lamont Roach. Buddy trying to sue. He always do that. He's really a busy and his whole team. Ah, bro, he just came out bucking. Doot, 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 doot. Tank just came out drilling. He didn't beat around the bush. You know who he's talking about. It is what it is, bro. Buddy is trying to sue. He always do that, right? Bro, this looks so bad for Lamont Roach. He do a lot of tough talking on the internet and calling people names and calling people out their name, all this type of stuff. But you like the Haneys. You keep going to the laws for like these little certain things. That looks shaky. Bro, it looks the same thing. The Haneys, Bill Haney keeps saying, I'm a street dude. I'm from Oakland. Womp, womp, wompty. I'm from the town. Yee. Right? But then Devin is suing for emotional distress to his BM. And then when the Young Thug tape came out and people were like, hey, this girl maybe is not for Devin Haney. Bill and Devin, they vouched for the girl. And then months later, it don't seem to be working out. And now you suing her. But then you sue Ryan Garcia too. That look weird, bro. Same thing with Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach talking spicy and calling people out their name, but he quick to like do police activities. You act like 12, the federales, right? You're trying to sue Tank over a rematch. After the fight, you went to the commission crying, and you and your team tried to get the fight overturned to a victory, to a win. Say, hey, it should have been a knee. Look at this. I compel you to look at the tape. Bro, this is weird. This new generation is chopped. Bro, straight chopped. What type of activity is this where pro boxer, hardcore rapper, but he's glossy, pro boxers supposed to be the toughest people in the planet, and there's a bunch of lawsuits and police activity when they don't get their way. I ain't never seen this. Trust me, other people have been cheated in fights. Someone popped dirty and they lost. Other people have had blown calls in fights. Like Carl Frock, George Groves. The first fight, I thought it was a premature stoppage. George Groves was doing very well, and in the first sign of danger, the ref was held him, and he wasn't even really getting punched on. It was a bad place to stop the fight. So George Groves coulda, shoulda, woulda, might have went on to win that fight, but we never know because of how the ref handled it. This happens all the time in boxing, where I'm not saying you have to like the call, right? But blown calls always happen in sports, not even boxing. How many playoff games, Super Bowl games, or just regular season games where the referee made a call and it cost the Warriors the game, cost the Lakers the game, or whoever? Football, they review the play and then reverse it or whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is just regular sports stuff. I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of newborns. If you don't know this, then you don't watch sports. So Lamont always trying to go to the cops and sue. Sue for what? What are you going to sue for? Because he's fighting someone else? I'm pretty sure there's a one-way rematch clause. So I don't understand what you're going to sue for and how you're going to win, but whatever. Lamont Roach says, all you stupid MFers know if I received some step aside money, I would have told you and showed you, kill that narrative. So I guess there's a rumor that Roachy got some step aside money for the Jake Paul Tank fight to happen. And he's like, nah, I would have told you. Of course you would have told us because you're a streamer and you spend all day online. Tank said, exactly. Because you a busy. Now go sit down and put your hand on your chin and figure out how that happened to your mans. Same way I put food in your mouth, I took it. Snatches. Bro, Tank, it's over. That's a 10-8 round. Tank got him with that. And it's exactly what Boxing Ego told you. Lamont Roach doing all this side stuff. You're the Z side. Tank's the A side, and all this talking and saying Tank was ducking. This is before the Jake Paul fight even was announced, right? You're doing all this talking, and I told you he was going to talk himself into a corner and make Tank show him how insignificant he is when it comes to the decision-making process. So Lamont Roach says, shut your BA up. You think you so smart. You dumb duck this bump and still got to pay you a bit and a trick. Laughing my butt off, right? So he's saying you still got to pay and blah, blah, blah. Now he's posting, fans said belt to and he's posting it and saying, duh. Bro, you're taking Twitter fan memes with Tank as Kaepernick, right? And it said, he made you submit to him in the ring. And you're using fan memes to, like, I don't know, prove a point. So that's where we're at with it. Tank says he's trying to sue. He's trying to get some money because the rematch is not happening. This proves Boxing Ego has been right all along. This is exactly why Tank Davis is not fighting the man, because he got out of line and he keep talking. Even before the fight was announced, he was like, oh, Tank got arrested. Aha. Like, you laughing at Tank getting arrested. Now, just what Tank said. I put food in your mouth. Watch me snatch it away. And he made Jake Paul the priority. And I understand it. I don't care if you understand it or not. Oh, but Tank's legacy is in jeopardy. Bro, the man told you he don't care about none of that. He said he care about his family and making money. He said some people got into boxing because they loved it and loved the sport and all that. I got into boxing because I had to. So I don't think he really cares what you're talking about when it comes to that. And here's the thing. Be real. If you had an opponent who was going full Berlanga, full Edgar Berlanga off a draw, and then acting like they won and saying you scared and ducking and just acting like they did something crazy, like they knocked you out and then the referee reversed it or something, and then you can fight him in a fight. And I'm saying I want to see the fight. I do want to see the fight. Hopefully the rematch occurs after the Jake Paul fight. I understand that. So for the record, I do want to see a rematch, and I would like Tank to rematch Lamont Roach. The only thing, Lamont Roach got to keep his brand healthy and keep his name hot by winning. Don't fight a fight too tough and then you end up losing to somebody else. You know what I mean? But I do want to see a rematch. But the point I'm making here is this. The man got too talkative. First of all, I know this for a fact. The Jake Paul fight was already orchestrated before the Lamont Roach fight or outcome even happened. They pretty much told you this at the post-fight press conference. This is why I don't know any other fight that Jake Paul definitely went to of Tank's, but he was at the Tank Roach fight. That's not even Tank's biggest fight, and Jake Paul went to that one because he was a spectator. So the plan was already to have Jake Paul. So all the people who are crying, they don't understand business. The plan before this fight even happened was the Jake Paul fight. Whether you like it or not, I'm not here to discuss that, and I don't really care, right? The plan was for that fight to occur, right? Canelo didn't fight Jake Paul, ran off to Turkey. PBC needed to respond with a big fight, and they probably wanted to open floodgates to do some good business with Netflix. So I guess the conversation shifted to Jake Paul versus Tank for whatever reason. I'm not saying I agree to that or not. All I'm saying is Canelo left the void because the game, it was at the 11th hour, Canelo pulled out of a fight with Jake Paul. That's what created this ripple in the pond. And just like any other fight where your main opponent ends up pulling out for any reason or failing a drug test, the promoter got to find a substitute. So that's what occurred here with Lamont Roach and Tank. It just so happened that Roach had a better outing than people expected. Tank also had some hiccups in the fight, took the knee, the grease in the eye, and that's it. So Tank had an opportunity to fight an ingrate, somebody who's been ungrateful, and somebody, it looked like, if you really look at it, Tank beforehand was showing Lamont Roach a lot of respect. We came up together. See, and this is, I'm glad it happened this way. I really am. Because when the grass is cut, the snakes are show. And I got to thank the little homie Naz for that, though. Tank, if you really rewind it, Tank was showing Lamont Roach respect in the first fight. He even said, I'm not even going to trash talk you. Your mama's here. You know, I came up with you in the amateur, blah, blah, blah. But this is what happens in real life. People be jealous on the low and envious of your stature and think they're better than you. And that's what makes jealousy a lot of times. When you see somebody in a position and you feel you should be at that level, at that position, or surpassed it, and you can't understand it. That's why all these young dudes, a lot of them be mad at Tank, right? Because he's up here. He making way more money than all these dudes in his age bracket, right? The only people who have made checks similar are Ryan Garcia, but because of Tank, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence, Crawford made some good money, and Anthony Joshua, right? And Usyk and guys like that. But those are all guys older than Tank. Everybody I mentioned was pretty much older than Tank, barring Ryan Garcia, right? But in boxing, those are the highest earners. Pacquiao's, Floyd's, guys like that. Canelo, I'm sorry, I didn't mention Canelo, but Canelo's a given. These are the guys making top dollars. So no one else in Tank's age bracket is getting the notoriety, the attention, and making the money he's making. That's a fact. Pure fact. So I think Lamont Roach probably been envious on the low for a minute. And then now how things played out, it brought out the worst. And then that's when you got to see it. But Tank was, I don't even think he was looking at him like as somebody I came up with. He wasn't really being super disrespectful. He didn't push him off stage like he did Rolly. He wasn't aggressive like he was in the Ryan Garcia pre-fight build and stuff like that. And on the low, I think Lamont Roach was jealous of that. And then he got his first little piece of shine off of Tank in the fight and doing better and not getting knocked out, doing better than people thought. And he didn't know how to handle it. And now he just too talkative. So Tank had a choice. It's very simple. All the Tank haters, the usual suspects, the Haniacs, the Inshakurs, they're going to pretend like this don't make sense and they can't understand it and how could he and all. Very easy to understand. Business. You had a fight that was already established before Ryan Garcia. You could either A, proceed with that fight and make way more money than Roach and have a huge event and then see Roach at a later date, or you could fight Roach first, who's very insignificant and nobody was talking about before you fought him, and address the draw for less money and hope that the Jake Paul fight and Netflix interest is still there and nothing happens to Jake Paul, like where he loses, like fights Tommy Fury in a rematch and loses. Because if he loses to Tommy Fury again, no one's going to want to see a Tank fight. Jake Paul was just calling out Anthony Joshua. That man is 6'6" and a puncher. So if that happened and Jake Paul fought Anthony Joshua, there's no guarantee that Tank can see him later, because what if Joshua were to knock out Jake Paul? So you make the smart business choice, which is take the bigger for show and then worry about the small fry later. Lamont Roach is a small fry. That's why he's so mad, and that's why it's like Al Bundy stories. Poke high. Oh, but remember that hair grease and I dropped Tank, and bro, that's why he keep talking about it. That's why he keep talking about it, because that's like right now, that's kind of your claim to fame. You don't have no moments that trump that. You don't. Tank got moments where he got Ryan Garcia up out of there in Pitbull fights with one hand and LeBron James in the crowd. Tank got like highlight real moments. This is your biggest moment, almost. It's like the movie Apocalypto when the dude kept calling him almost. Like, you almost finished. You almost, bro, nobody care about an almost. Almost don't mean nothing. And then for real, Lamont Roach is making it sound like he devastated Tank. Like he was just he did cool at best. But I still thought Tank should have won the fight. Like actually won the fight. Right? Because per boxing rules, the referee is in charge. Period. The ref didn't count as a knockdown. You got to stomach that. It's not my fault. I'm not the ref. The ref didn't count it. You cannot count it. So you have to still score the rest of the fight accordingly. And there was no other 10-8 rounds. There were no like moments where Tank was like drunk. So it was like, what are we talking about? So Lamont Roach, for real, is being inflated how well he did. Lamont Roach did well in the fact that he didn't get knocked out by a known notorious puncher with a bigger name as a obscure name. That's why it's being celebrated. Everybody thought you were going to get knocked out and you didn't get knocked the F out and you landed some good shots. That's why. And your trunks was up to your neck. Bro, he had them Steve Urkel. Hi, Laura. Did I do that? Bro, you had them Steve Urkel. Man, I'm done, bro. Subscribe to the channel.